This film, I've got to say, has probably got one of the most unnecessarily gross startups ever. It all starts off really pleasant, everybody's having a nice time, then... Yep, look, I'll leave the rest to your imagination what happens, or do you just go and rent the film? Anyway, this guy here comes to these salvage experts and asks them to help him recover a ship. So he gives them some bullshit story, they take the piss, but they help him anyway because there's money in it. It's quite funny because a bit later on, while they're at sea, they actually bounce off the ship they're looking for. Damn, idiots. Anyway, they board this ship, have a little look around, some strange sort of things start to happen. Then they stumble across some gold. Then they have a little bit of a chinwaggers about what to do with the gold, so they decide they'll take it and leave the boat. So they start trying to unload it, then things start to get nasty, and she sees this little girl warning them about it, but she ignores her, and they lose one of their crew, plus the boat. Well, now they're stuck on this ship because their little tugboat's been destroyed. They decide to try and patch up the hole because it's got a breach in it, and try and get it back. Then weird stuff starts to happening to all the crew. Then their captain has a little chat with the other captain. He tells him the whole story of what had gone on. The gold wasn't originally on board their ship, it was brought to them by another ship. Then the captain goes mad because he thinks he's seeing somebody else and he isn't. Attacked from the crew, they lock him away. They don't want to kill him because they think he's just lost his marbles. Then they discuss, you've really got to get this ship going and get out of here. Then she stumbles across another dead crew member. Then the little ghost girl comes to her and shows her what really happened on board the ship. Why they're stuck on there, the fact is there's somebody who harvests souls, and when he's got so many he can go. They're all stuck on the boat, they can't die, they can't leave this world until the boat either sinks or the bloke who's trying to take them gets enough souls to take them to wherever the hell it is he takes them. Anyway, to summarise things quickly, the rest of her crewmates all die. She's the only one who's going to make it out. She has a confrontation with that bastard who's reaping souls. She calls his bluff, the ship blows up. She gets away, gets back to shore, and then she finds that they're unloading the gold. Hard the gold get there, the ship blows up, and then she realises that he's taken control of her old crewmates, and the whole circle starts again. All in all, a pretty entertaining film actually, and I recommend you seeing it. Doomsday is a superb film. Not horror as in the kind of horror films we've been talking about recently, but horror nonetheless. It's about a virus called the Reaper virus, which seems to primarily have affected Scotland. So they quarantine the place off. You see this little girl with her mother. She is going to be quite significant later on, and she loses an eye. Blah blah blah. We don't really need to go into details, and that you'll find out later on about her. So fast forward to now. You're showing that she's a part of the military, and they're trying to stop illegal drug hits in and out of Britain. Well, I say Britain, I mean England, because they've cut off Scotland. Anyway, it transpires that they've been watching Scotland for some time, that is the British government. Prime Minister being played by Julian Bashir, so we'll just call him Julian, shall we, out of Deep Space Nine. Okay, so let's get to the film. They think there's a antivirus, or the people in Scotland have become immune. They want to know why, because just recently there's been an outbreak in London. They're going to have to quarantine London, so they send over a small military team to seek out, find the civilization that survived, get the cure, bring it back so they can save London. Okay, that's the general gist of the story. So they get there, they twat around for a bit, and they find out there's a small contingent of nutters that are prattling around a bit. They kill some of their members, they try to get away, don't get away, meet somebody who says they can help them, they know where Malcolm McDowell's character is, so they follow her back to a, what the hell's going on here? A medieval castle? Yeah, this film suffers from this big time. Okay, we go to a medieval castle, by Malcolm McDowell, then we have a little bit of a gladiatorial fight with a knight, then they manage to escape, then they go back to the caverns they were brought to there from. Then they get a cart. Now we go through possibly a Mad Max scenario. If you look, being chased by nutters on cars. Look, you know what? This film is completely screwed. Well, after all that, she kills the leader. You can just see his head splattered there. Manages to get away. Makes a deal with the Vice Prime Minister, i.e. quoting, the cure he wants in this girl, take the girl, I've got nothing left to bargain with, but she's been filming him with the fake eye, and in all hope that he gets kicked out and a proper Prime Minister or Vice Prime Minister put in his place. And she goes back to rule them. You know what? It's a bloody good film, and if you haven't seen it, you've got to see it. It's not overly gross, not overly gory, it's just entertaining, if not a little bit erratic. Right, The Grudge 2, because The Grudge 2 I found was possibly the most disturbing. The Grudge 1 was obviously disturbing, but a small amount of characters involved. The Grudge 3 ruins it because there's a way out. The Grudge 2 leaves you in doubt that anybody will survive. It will, you know, literally encapsulate the world. That's why I think it's the best. Now, Sarah Michelle Gellar's character dies pretty damn quick in this film. Obviously, they couldn't afford to have her through the rest of it. And it's left to her sister to put the pieces together. In the meantime, we're given a couple of different scenarios and stories, all running parallel to the same ending. So, it's kind of interesting. I like that. It makes you think. Is this schoolgirl being tormented by these other kids? They're all going to the house, so now they're part of the Grudge. The sister who's looking for it is introduced to this media reporter, and they both go into the house, so now they're privy to being killed by the Grudge. And then the school teacher goes to visit, and then she dies because of the Grudge. It's great. Then she goes to visit the mother, trying to find an answer to it. The mother dies. It's really a pretty disturbing film, all in all. It's the way that Japanese seem to run their horror films. There's no light at the end of the tunnel. It's just gloom, misery, and death. And if you like that kind of thing, it's a great film. You can't really beat this one. I'm not going to give too much away about the story. It really isn't that overly involved. Number 3 sort of works things out and gives you a, what should we say, closure, as the Americans like to say. All in all, it's a great film and quite disturbing. I don't recommend watching this one on your own, and it's got a kind of a miserable end, but you expected that anyway. I think it's worth a watch. Absolute classic, Halloween. Now, this was done on an independent filmmaking basis, so it had a small budget. And I think initially they wanted Peter Cushing, but they got Donald Pleasant, and I'm pleased they did. He's excellent as Dr. Loomis in this. Now, as we all know, the story of Michael Myers kills his family, put into a mental home, escapes, and he's trying to get his way back to the original family household. Okay, it's not a very complicated story. It's just the fact that it's so well executed. Now, we've got Jamie Lee Curtis, who can scream like a banshee. She's absolutely amazing in this film. Now, she and her 2 friends are babysitting on this particular Halloween. Now, the film's nicely setting itself up for the end. Now, right up nearly until the end, we haven't really got a body count. The film is all relying on suspense, and what you don't see, as I said, less is more in these kind of films. And there's a few little touches I really liked in the film, like when they're in the car, the song in the background is Don't Fear the Reaper. I always found that quite entertaining to be in this film. And there's another little nod to the classics. The children, while they're under her care, are watching the classic film Forbidden Planet. Let's not forget these immortal lines. And let's not forget the great speech we get from Donald Pleasant in this film. Now her friends start to get it. Now we're getting a body count. So her first friend gets it. Yeah, in the car. At least you would expect it at that point in the film. Now she rings her friend. She thinks she's doing a prank corner. She's not. She's being killed by Michael Myers. And she thinks she's having a joke with her. But unfortunately, Jamie Lee Curtis soon realises this ain't no joke. And he comes after her next. She's the main target for him. But luckily, Jamie Lee Curtis ain't no moron. Stab him in the eye. Get him there. Come on. But luckily, Dr. Loomis is there to kill Michael Myers. Also, he thinks. This literally is one of the greatest horror films ever made. Because it's not what you see. It doesn't have a particularly high body count. It's just the suspense it builds. There's been so many sequels to this film and so many copies, and all of them pale into insignificance next to this. This was quintessentially the best Halloween film ever made. And I mean that sincerely. And if you haven't seen it, where the hell have you been? Alright, I have to be honest, I intended to get this finished about a week ago, and I intended to finish it off on the second part. I'm sorry, that obviously isn't going to happen. So, I hope you enjoyed this second part, and can hang around for the final. Look, I'll tell you what I will do to make up for it having to be 3 parts. I'll do a roundup of the other 9 films, and then we'll finish it on the 10th, or the first from 10 down to number 1. On the basis that I think the last film I've got is a real shocker in my opinion. Quite a disturbing film and quite horrific. And if you're into horror films and Halloween and that's this kind of stuff in general, you'll probably quite enjoy it. So hey guys, bear with me and look forward to part 3, I hope.